What's good, everyone? I hope y'all's week is going alright. This week's video is on when boxers become trainers. So pretty much boxers who were full-fledged pros at one point, becoming the best they can be in the sport to later retire and become a trainer. With that being said, let's start the video. Very surprising because Yaegashi has not been retired for long. He was one of the original kings and cash cows at the lower weight classes in the 2010s, becoming the WBA strawweight champion, falling just short in his unification against Kazuto Ioka for the WBC title. He would move up to flyweight and become the WBC lineal and ring flyweight champion, making 3 defenses before being dethroned by his rival, the great Roman Gonzalez, in a legacy fight. He would move down to light fly to become the IBF champion and make 2 defenses before being dethroned by Milan Melindo. He would make one last title run and come up unsuccessful against IBF champion Maruti Matlani, where Yaegashi would announce his retirement from the sport and become a trainer. It didn't take long post-retirement. Yaegashi would start training K1 champion Yoshiki Takei, transitioning him from a world-class kickboxer to a well-rounded world-class boxer. Within 1 year and 4 fights, Yoshiki proved that he is ready to step into the regional and world ranks. He will become the OPBF champion, then earn contender status, making world rank by ring and top 10 belt organization rank. By his 9th pro bout, he was primed and ready to fight WBO champion Jason Maloney. This would be Yoshiki's 3rd 12th round fight. He would dazzle early on, and through the mid rounds, have a sizable lead coming into the championship rounds. Exhausted, Yoshiki would have a little bit of a scare, but finish the fight to win by unanimous decision to carry on the long historic lineage of kickboxing champions to become world champs in boxing. Within 5 years of retirement, 3-time champion Akira Yaegashi has trained his first world champion, which is a fine accomplishment.
So I remember calling Arturo. I said, guess who's training fighters now? He said, who? I said, Mickey Wood. He goes, you think he'll train me? I said, well, that's why I'm calling you. I said, call him up. He said, I'm going to call him right now.
Mickey had cemented his career as one of the ultimate warriors that brought in many new fans inspired by his performance, and vice versa with Arturo Gatti. Though this was brief, I thought it was very cool to include. Rival and now best friend Arturo Gatti had hit up Ward asking him if he wanted to train him.
Yo, Mick, what are you doing? He goes, you want to come to training camp? He was, and he was saying, what do you mean? He goes, you want to train me? And after a while, it's like, he's not answering back. I'm like, why, you don't want to do it? You don't like it? But I'm sure afterwards, when he hung up, he was like, yo, I'm going to train Arturo Gatti.
Fernando Vargas would take junior middleweight by storm. He was rushed very quickly to be in line to be part of the rivalries between Trinidad and his fellow Cali natives De La Hoya and Mosley. This will lead to him to pick up the IBF junior middleweight title just 5 days after his 21st birthday in 1998 and have 5 successful title defenses, establishing his reputation in the weight class just in time when guys like Trinidad, Oscar, and Mosley were on their way to moving up. This will lead to a Tito Trinidad fight and the mega fight with Oscar De La Hoya. After rebounding, Vargas would finally get to fight his fellow Cali rival, Shane Mosley, which he would have a last hurrah before the fight was ultimately stopped due to swelling in the 10th round. Vargas would come up unsuccessful in the rematch. He was slated for a big pay-per-view fight against Ricardo Mayorga on Showtime pay-per-view. Due to a string of unfortunate events, the fight would get canceled, a new date was made, Showtime didn't buy back in, and I personally think due to the layoff because of the cancellation, Vargas was not at his best coming into his final fight, which he would lose by majority decision, later announce his retirement. Vargas would hone his skills in the ring and life experiences become a well-rounded trainer, training numerous well-known fighters.
Body! Ahí, trabájalo! Ahí! Síguele! Good! Good! Keep going, let's go!
As well as his trio of sons, Fernando Jr., Amato, and Emiliano. Fernando using his life experiences as a fighter and doing the right thing of allowing his sons to be properly moved along in their career to help them develop and potentially reach a higher peak than him. All three sons have great potential to move up in the sport. The youngest, Emiliano, is currently the biggest standout of the trio. He shares the power of his dad, the offensive weapons he offered in his prime. However, when it comes to boxing ability, I see a lot of influence from Robert and Mikey Garcia. This is currently a developing story, and I'm excited to see what happens in the trio's career. One of the Mexican kings of the 2000s, Morales was a 4-time world champion. He had some of the most exciting fights of the 2000s, sprinkled with some great last hurrah shows to end his Hall of Fame career. Years after retirement, Morales would go on to train Jesse Vargas and former champion Jaime Munguia. Before we get back with the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. YouTube is literally frying this page alive, so if you enjoy the content, I appreciate the support. For the comment section topic, which fighter do you think is going to be the next face in boxing to take over the helm of Canelo, Fury, Usyk, Inoue, and Crawford? Leave in the comments. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and let's get back to the video. Hisashi Teraji fought at middleweight, which was incredibly uncommon in Japan. Sitting at 6'2", he would fall short of becoming the Japanese national champion against Shinji Takehara, who would end up becoming Japan's first middleweight champion, defeating #1 ranked by Ring Magazine WBA champion Jorge Castro. After the defeat, Hisashi would pick up the national title, make 3 defenses before moving up to light heavyweight and becoming the OPBF champion, making 4 defenses of the title before retiring with the record of 20 wins, 1 loss, 11 knockouts with 3 draws. Teraji wouldn't end up fighting for the world title, despite 2 opponents that he fought. One that he had beaten ended up fighting for the world title. Hisashi would raise his son Kenshiro, which his son wanted to follow his father's footsteps. Side note, Hisashi named his son Kenshiro after his favorite character Kenshiro from the manga/anime Fist of the North Star. Despite the huge difference in size, the father being a 6-foot middleweight, the son peaking at 5'4", Kenshiro would flourish in the amateurs to later begin his pro career. Ken would hastily pick up the national and regional crowns to be in line to fight for the world title against WBC champion Ganigan Lopez in his 10th pro bout. Kenshiro would win by majority decision. He would make 8 title defenses, which included cleaning out the weight class and ending his rivalry with Ganigan in their rematch. Kenshiro would be on the best pace of potentially tying Yoko Gushkin's sacred title defense record. Kenshiro would fall short in his 9th title defense, overlooking his opponent Masamichi Yabuki, while the big super fight with Hiroto Kyoguchi was on the cusp of being made. Teraji would win the immediate rematch, then finally get to face his longtime rival in a legacy fight for the WBC and Ring title, which he would stop Kyoguchi in the 7th round.
Hey, it's last round, 3 minutes, champ, 3 minutes. Be smart in there, okay? This guy's not on your level, you understand me? Okay, triple jab, you worked hard for this shit, okay? Keep backing him up. Hey, when you're doing this with your hands, he's low. Let's go, sir. Let's go, 3 minutes, baby.
Buddy McGirt was a hell of a pro boxer who had fought them all. He would win his first world title against Frankie Warren, the only guy who had beat him at the time. He would have a hard-fought bout against Meldrick Taylor before being dethroned, become the welterweight champion against Simon Brown before losing a close fight against the great Pernell Whitaker, which James fought Whitaker injured. There was a tear in his rotator cuff that later ended up being torn off during the fight, and still Buddy narrowly won. James would fall short in the rematch and retire a couple years later with a record of 73 wins, 48 knockouts, 6 losses, and 1 draw. Quick side note, in the hit HBO series The Sopranos, one of the portraits that is hanging up in the office of the Bada Bing is of James McGirt. This could be a nod to James's gym being tied to the Gambino crime family when they attempted to get back into boxing. James denied any ties with the mob. However, he did say that he attended Gatti's trial in 1989 and had visits from Gambino associates. Anyways, James' first champion would not be too long from his retirement, just 4 years in. He would lead Byron Mitchell to become the WBA super middleweight champion. James was brought in 6 days before Byron's fight to have him ready for a title fight. This would earn James Trainer of the Year in 2002. James would be 100% responsible for revitalizing the career of Arturo Gatti by turning Gatti from a brawler into a boxer-puncher. This helped prolong his career to where he became a title holder at junior welterweight. However, McGirt's come-out show with training Antonio Tarver, he would contribute to Tarver's title run against Roy Jones Jr. to ultimately dethrone him in the rematch in 2004. McGirt would rebuild Paulie Malignaggi's career after his devastating loss against Miguel Cotto in 2006. This would lead to one of the greatest single-fight performances in boxing history and single-handedly Paulie's greatest performance of his entire career. He looked like an all-time great on that night.
Right hand, he's throwing some good combination punches right now. You know, you have to throw it.
Shoots a right hand
Over Malignaggi's left eye.
dropping right hand from.
A little bit. It shows.
Could be because the actual GOAT blessed him in the locker room. Who knows?
The crowd has really spurred him on here, and you know, Malignaggi's feeling it. He knows he's the champion. He's acting like a champion. He's finishing this fight like a champion too. This is what you call closing the show.
Eddie would have a fine amateur boxing career, becoming a two-time Golden Gloves champion, defeating boxing great and future undisputed champion Vito Antuofermo. He would start his career in 1972 after winning back-to-back Golden Glove tournaments. He would fall short in his first title run in 1977 for the WBA light heavyweight title after losing to James Scott in one of the most unusual events in boxing history, where James was serving a 30 to 40 year prison sentence, and the 12-round bout was held inside of a prison where HBO broadcasted the event. Eddie would rebound back in the ranks and become the WBA light heavyweight champion against Marvin Johnson. He'll make 2 defenses before being dethroned by the great Michael Spinks. Eddie would fall short of his IBF title run to retire a couple years later with a record of 50 wins, 39 knockouts, and 8 losses and 1 draw. Eddie trained Iron Barkley, Chad Dawson during his first reign as the light heavyweight champion, Ishe Smith, Badou Jack, Zab Judah, and James Toney.
We talked about stepping in 2 or 3 jabs. Stop going 1 jab. He's trying to come over the top. Okay. Double and triple jab and skip your way in. Stop walking. Okay. Skip your way in. Sit down and both hands to the body. That's all you got to do. All right? And when he goes, just cut him off. Put this foot over here and cut him off. Okay. Right hand around the hip. That's all you got to do. Left hook to the body.
Ronnie also had a great amateur career. He won 4 Golden Glove tournaments. 3 were back-to-back from 1974 to 1976. He will pick up number 4 in 1978, which he will go to the pros shortly in 1980. Ronnie was always on the cusp of becoming champion. His biggest win would be against boxing great Saul Mambi for the NABF title to be in title contention. He will fall short in his first shot at the title against Billy Costello in 1984 for the WBC junior welterweight title. After a 5-fight win streak to capture the NABF title, he will fall just short from IBF title contention after losing a hard-fought fight against Frankie Warren for the IBF USBA title. Despite losing, Ronnie was highly ranked to where in his falling fight, he'll be up against Japanese boxing legend Tsuyoshi Hamada for the WBC title. This would be Hamada's first defense. He was coming into the fight with 19 wins, 18 by knockout. Ronnie would put on a world-class performance, outboxing the brawler, being one of the very few opponents to go to distance with Hamada. Shields unfortunately would fall short of capturing the WBC title, losing by a narrow split decision, with Hamada stating that since he didn't deliver with a knockout, he would accept this as a defeat. Ronnie would retire from the sport a couple years later. Ronnie would contribute to turning future boxing legend Vernon Forrest into a world champion. He was Vernon's assistant coach under Lou Duva early on till he was made head coach. Ronnie would coach Vernon leading up to his come-out party victories against pound for pound Shane Mosley to become the WBC and Ring Magazine champion at welterweight. This would earn Ronnie 2003 Trainer of the Year. He would train numerous household names from Mike Tyson, David Tua, Kermit Cintron, both Charlos, Jesse James Leija, Pernell Whitaker, Arturo Gatti, and more. Ronnie would be a long-term coach for Erislandy Lara all the way up to the Roman Alvarez fight in 2019, in which he had helped Lara become the WBA champion, holding the title from 2013 to 2018. Freddie Roach would have a humble boxing career with 40 wins, 15 knockouts, and 13 losses. He notably fought Bobby Chacon, Greg Hogan, and Hector Camacho. Freddie is one of the last fighters under the tutelage of Eddie Futch.
I didn't have a lot going on, and I was working as a telemarketer in the morning, though, to make money. My name was Joe Davis, and you know, I used to call up, just Joe Davis, North American Enterprises. You know, I sold advertising items. I sold pens, key tags, coffee mugs, and with, you know, Joe's X on it and stuff like that.
Shortly within his career as a trainer, all the stars aligned. He would go on to train acting superstar Mickey Rourke.
Freddie came into the gym one day and he goes, listen, I don't train people to lose fights. You're not running, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I'm going back to Las Vegas.
He said, you know, you tell me you like boxing. I said, you respect the sport. You show up one day out of 7, you waste my time. I ripped him so bad he actually cried.
The spotlight attracted many to the gym, despite Mickey's boxing debut being of question.
His strength of the box, his right hand.
Kind of sticks his right hand, paws it out, and then all of a sudden hits you with a big left hand, and he's strong.
Not the fastest hands, but when they connect, they can do some damage.
I have seen faster hands, yes.
Mickey Rourke is not a fighter. He's a hell of an actor. We're going to find out how good a fighter he is tonight.
For 4 rounds, Rourke wrestled, pushed, punched, taunted, and basically beat up Powell. Despite 2 penalty points, Rourke won a unanimous decision, but not many hearts.
Put me out of the ring 2 or 3 times. I mean, that's excuse me.
Followed up by his overseas fights, which brought even more into question. Since this was in the 1990s and didn't raise too much of a fuss of this type of stuff, this did not plateau Freddie's career. Mickey would give Freddie a gift that would change the course of boxing history by giving Freddie the Wildcard gym. This is a gym that Mickey had built and loaded all new equipment because early on, before his pro debut, he was very serious about having a boxing career. For the oncoming years when Freddie took over the gym, it became a hotbed of talent that would come through and train and spar. Some of the most legendary sparring footage from the early 2000s came from this gym during his time training James Toney.
Listen to me, all right? Championship of the world right here, this round, okay? You gotta put this guy on his ass. I'm serious now, okay? All right? All right, he out-hustles you that round.
Oh my gosh! Oh, Tony! Oh! That's it! That's it! Got him down! Almost got him down!
Freddie, who at this point was respected in the industry but not known to the general public, would have his come out party with his young talent, Manny Pacquiao. He would win the Boxing Writers Trainer of the Year in 2003, in 2006 for completely correcting Manny's issues, leading to him defeating Morales twice after being outclassed a year prior. Then in 2008, for leading Manny to become the first Ring Magazine Super Featherweight champion since the title was reinstated into boxing. Once again in 2009 and 2010, because of Manny's success defeating Cotto, revitalizing Amir Khan, and the ultimate deciding factor, defeating Ricky Hatton. This fight determined if Mayweather Sr. or Freddie Roach would be named Trainer of the Year.
All good? Oh, wow. Holy shit.
He's on the cover of Time.
Wow.
Bigger than ever.
Look at that. All due to Freddie Roach.
That's right.
You brought him all the way to the top, Mr. Roach, with that shining, winning personality of yours.
In 2010, he was named because of both Pacquiao and Khan's success. He will later win 2013 and 2014 for his success of rebuilding Pacquiao after getting brutally knocked out, to go on a 3-fight win streak, to reclaim the WBO welterweight title, then rebuild Miguel Cotto to become the middleweight champion. The Mayweather brothers were a trio of talented fighters from the West: Jeff, Roger, and Floyd.
From Grand Rapids, Michigan, Floyd Mayweather.
Popping right hand by Floyd Mayweather.
I had speed galore, you know, and not only speed, I had the mind, the brain, you know, to execute whatever it is that I wanted to do.
Floyd, the oldest, possessed great prospects, however faced with challenges in his personal life on top of a career-ending shotgun blow to the leg, which plateaued what would have been a solid boxing career. This was months after the Sugar Ray Leonard fight, so we never got to see the best of Floyd.
I was one hell of a fighter that never got to break.
Floyd Mayweather, a very, very big win.
Because I got early in my career. I got with a 20-gauge shotgun. And I was holding my son when I got I was holding little Floyd. Little Floyd was 1 year old at the time.
The middle of the trio was Roger. Roger was the fire to Floyd's ice. He was more of the offense to defense fighter, and Floyd was defense to offense.
I knocked out my trainer. I knocked him out cold. I swear. Because God is my witness. I knocked him out cold. You know how much I weighed? 112 pounds. You know how much he weighed? 237 pounds.
Roger started his pro career at 20, would be quickly moved along in his career, fighting 12-rounders by his 10th pro bout to pick up the Nevada State title, followed up by the IBF USBA title. Then his 15th pro bout to become the WBA super featherweight champion against Samuel Serrano, stopping him in the 8th round. Though he has logged in plenty of rounds, going the distance in 10-rounders and championship fights, the red-hot Rocky Lockridge exploited the 22-year-old's inexperience, knocking him out in the first 2 minutes of the fight.
Experience being the factor in terms of if the fight goes 15 rounds. If it doesn't go 15 rounds, it will be Roger Mayweather laying on the canvas.
After back-to-back losses, Roger would rebound and pick up the IBF USBA title at super feather before having a crack at fighting the great Julio Cesar Chavez. Chavez would stop him in 2 rounds. Roger would move up to lightweight, and he will flourish in the new weight class to pick up the WBC Continental Americas title. Despite being in title contention, he took a side quest pretty much to face rival Pernell Whitaker for the NABF title. Despite Whitaker mathematically in a position to win the fight, Roger still gave him absolute hell, making him really fight to earn that decision. Roger would get his revenge, tying up the knockdown count, dropping Sweet Pea in the 9th round.
Oh, booming right hand. He's hurt. And Whitaker's hurt. And he hits him while he's down. 2, 3. Pernell Whitaker was hurt and went down, and Roger Mayweather clearly hit him when he was down. The humiliation of that move by Pernell Whitaker in pulling his trunks down. He came out of his corner an angry young man. And he's still angry. And still groggy. Mayweather steps back in. I'll tell you something. Pete is still groggy. He's still hurt. His legs are not there. And Roger Mayweather was motivated.
Despite being in defeat, Roger's stock was high, and 2 fights later he would get a chance to become a 2-time champion against WBC lightweight champ Rene Arredondo in his first defense after dethroning Tsuyoshi Hamada, the champ I mentioned earlier that fought Ronnie Shields. Roger would put the Mayweather name in the spotlight by completely demolishing Rene in 6 rounds, dropping him 3 times in the fight. Roger would make 4 defenses of the title, which one of those wins was a big one against the great Vinny Pazienza, even going as far as dropping Vinny in the 11th round. Since Roger was the champ on a hell of a win streak, this will earn him a rematch against the 62-0 Julio Cesar Chavez. This would be a grinder of a fight, which Roger was forced to retire from his stool due to constant stomach cramps. Roger's longevity in this sport would really be something. He would fall short in regaining the title against Rafael Pineda, but years later pick up the newly created IBO title, before having his final crack at the world title against the great Costa Tszyu. During this point in Tszyu's career, Roger would be one of the only fighters to go the distance against him. Roger will retire a couple years later to become future Hall of Fame coach. Jeff, who started his pro career in the late 80s, fight a lot of notable names in the sport. He was able to capture the IBO super featherweight title. He will retire just 9 years into his pro career. I would say this trio helped contribute to perfecting the family's style, which originated from Sugar Ray Robinson and later the great George Benton, who took this to a whole new level. This style had its problems being susceptible to the overhand right and also being wide open to shots to the back of the head, which we have seen plenty when following the career of James Toney, which led to the issues James has today. The family was able to correct all these known issues with their protege, the son of Floyd Jr.
First, I want to thank the good man upstairs for giving me this opportunity to win the national championship. And second of all, I want to thank my father.
He's the best in the Midwest, I must confess. For all the rest is no contest.
As Floyd Jr. was becoming a great fighter, Floyd Sr. will put the family's teachings on the map when appointed by boxing superstar Oscar De La Hoya. Floyd Sr. was able to perfect Oscar, turning him into a much more complete fighter. He kept Oscar in line and focus in the second half of fights, where he at this point was not finishing like he should, which led to losing to Trinidad and Shane Mosley. The family had a hell of a track record with many talented fighters, as well as cultivating young talent before they made it into the mainstream. Definitely a what could have been is if rising star Joan Guzman remained with Floyd Sr. as a trainer. Guzman had some of the fastest hands in the sport. Under Floyd, he had an incredibly great defense where he was able to beautifully go from defense to offense and back. Under Senior, he was unbeatable. Also, I felt like Chad Dawson was a much more complete fighter under Mayweather Sr. Floyd Sr. would help revitalize Ricky Hatton's career to where it almost earned him a Trainer of the Year award. I watched the new era at the Mayweather gym when it came to mitt work. No one does it like Floyd Sr. and Roger. They actually fought with you, and the fighter wasn't throwing incredibly short distance shots to where the trainer looked like they were doing all the work. It looks like a lost art within the gym, and the only guy I saw that did mitt work like Floyd and Roger was Ricky Hatton, who had learned from Floyd during their time together. And this is from a guy prior to 2008, after years of fighting, didn't know how to do mitt work of any kind. Around 2013, Mayweather Sr., after more than a decade, would take the helm as head coach for his son Floyd Jr. as Roger's health was beginning to decline. Floyd Sr. was able to improve on Floyd's game when it came to switching from offense to defense and back.
There's a combination, and the right hand to the body by Mayweather. Those little body shots and the jab. Those little body shots have set up those heads.
Robert Garcia and his father are one of the key figures putting Oxnard in the map in combat sports. Two-time Silver Gloves champion, he would surprisingly have his pro debut in Japan at the age of 17. His first 3 pro bouts would take place in Japan before making his way back to California when he turned 18, where he will predominantly fight his entire career. By 20 years old, he became the NABF champion and was in the level of title contention. After 3 years of getting rounds and experience in, Robert was ready for his first title shot against veteran Harold Warren for the vacant IBF title. He would win by a comfortable lead to become champ at 23 years old. Garcia would make 2 defenses of the title before being dethroned by Diego Corrales. It was a pretty brutal match, both guys exchanging blows, but Garcia being more affected by Corrales' shots.
Left hook catches him again. 18 seconds to go in the 6th round. Corrales having it all his way. And down he goes again for the second time. Here comes Corrales, nails him. Right hand. He won't recover from this. No, Joe Marquez stops it. And he's...
Like with Fernando Vargas, Garcia was rushed back into big fights where he went up against Ben Takei. Garcia, who always seemed to be undersized whatever weight class he was in, did not have enough to make Ben respect him, and as the fight trailed on in the second half, Ben was able to drop him the knife, then to put him away in the 10th round, which this would be named Ring Magazine Knockout of the Year. Garcia would move back down and wait, however I think the damage was already done to where we never got to see his true peak I believe, resulting in a tough defeat against legend Yoel Casamayor. Robert would retire that year after going out on a win. He would earn his experience training as the second in command under his father, Eduardo Garcia. One of Robert's earliest champs was Steven Huevano, who held the WBO title from 2007 to 2010, followed up by Eddie, who won the IBF title, dethroning Billy Dibb. He took Nonito Donaire, turning him into a pound-for-pound star and Boxing Writers Fighter of the Year. He had turned Marcos Maidana from a brawler to a skilled, calculated boxer-puncher to capture the WBA welterweight title against Adrian Broner, giving him his first loss. As well as being the key figure to bringing Brandon Rios to the world stage, Garcia also trained Abner Mares, turned Jose Ramirez into a unified champion, almost reaching undisputed status. Not to forget training his brother Mikey to become champ at feather, super feather, lightweight, and junior welterweight. Robert's current star talent he's been training for many years is Virgil Ortiz, currently the WBC interim champion at junior middleweight, and currently ranked #1 in the world by Ring Magazine. And on top of that, this is when boxers become trainers. For more videos like these, be sure to like, share, and if you're new, subscribe to the Patreon for Patreon-backed projects and early access. I'm Alpha Sancho, and I'm out.